Welcome to another episode of Indie Darlings, the podcast. I'm your host, Knives Monroe. How you guys doing? Hopefully you're doing well. With me today is a special occasion. I'm with filmmaker Canyon Demare. Did I say your name correctly, sir?
Damari, but it's all good.
Damari. Hey, my name has a silent K, so I understand.
Yeah.
Trust me, at Starbucks, they never hear it right. Knives. Damari, well, Canyon, thank you so much for coming on the show, pal. It means a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course. So I got to get this elephant out of the room. This my first question here. You're going to get it a lot for like the next 5 to 6 years, I think. But how many birthdays have you had?
Oh, 21.
21 years old. Okay, so
Yeah.
we're here today to talk about your short film, Days Gone By.
Yes.
Before we get into that, I want to know, what is your story as a filmmaker? How did you get started in this game?
So I started out, like pretty early on. I was in 6th grade in middle school, and my best friend, he used to make just like these really like short, like stupid funny videos, like his home video camera and things like that. And I was never really like a video guy or like a movie guy. But then one day I was just kind of like, you know what? This seems pretty cool what he's doing. I kind of want to, get in on this. And I was a huge Walking Dead guy. I loved The Walking Dead a lot earlier on when I was a lot younger. And I really wanted to make a zombie movie. That was like my whole shtick. That was like everything that I wanted to do. And so in 6th grade, like I got with him and I was like, hey, I want to write like a zombie movie, thinking we could write like this Oscar-worthy film. And so we wrote like an 8-page short film called The Dead Among Us. And I talked to my principal, and we actually filmed like an 8-minute zombie film at our middle school with like me, him, and like 6 or 7 other of our friends. It was terrible. We filmed it on my dad's like off-brand tablet. It was really bad. And like after we did that, it was just kind of like, it was just something I kind of did, and then it kind of slowed down there. I didn't really get back into doing it a lot. But then me and my best friend, we just started making these like really short, stupid, funny videos, just me and him, where we played every single character and things like that. And then I used to make a lot of fake trailers with a guy that lived across the street from me in my parents' house. And it would just be fake trailers for mostly zombie films. It'd just be me and him. I would only plan out the trailer. So I'd like, oh, I want this action shot. I want this shot of us running, things like that. And then it slowly just turned into like us making actual like short films and feature films and stuff like that. And when I really started to take it seriously was in my hometown. There was a film festival that happened in the city across the river, because I used to live on the Colorado River in Arizona, and it was in Laughlin, Nevada. It was the Laughlin International Film Festival, and my dad bought tickets. He just kind of took me there. I saw the opening night film. I was at the red carpet, and it wasn't even that big of a festival. There was probably like maybe 200-300 people there, but it was just being exposed to that side of it when I never had been was pretty crazy and pretty like eye-opening to just kind of that world. And so we went there, and then I went to like a filmmaker's workshop for like young filmmakers specifically, and there was a guy there named Brian Lee Brown, who was a local filmmaker who was just talking about films that he had made over the years in Arizona and like in our hometown and things like that. And as soon as I walked out of that festival, I kind of was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to make like a feature film. And I was a sophomore in high school when I decided to do that. And so I sat down for about a couple months. I wrote out a film, and in about like a year, it started filming. In December of 2016 is when I filmed it. It was a feature film. It was 90 pages, hour and a half long. It only had my family in it. It was called Genome, and it was basically about my character discovers a cloning device and clones himself, so I could play 2 characters pretty easily. My best friend was in it, my parents were in it, my dad played the villain, and we finished it, and it actually got into the Laughlin Film Festival that next year, 2017, and they premiered it there. It was a packed theater on the last day of the film festival. And I remember, like, up until that point, I was like, yeah, I made a movie, and, like, everyone at school was talking about it, everyone was excited for it, but I never really knew how I was going to feel about showing it to an audience, because I released it on YouTube, like, 6 months before it premiered at the festival, and I was standing outside the theater, and my dad walked up to me, like before it was premiering, he's like, hey, when you go in there, just be ready. And I was like, what does that mean? And he's like, just be ready. Because I wasn't really counting how many people were walking in as I was greeting them. And I walked in the theater, I turned around, and every single seat was filled. And I literally just like stood there for a second and like took it all in, went and sat down, and the film played. It's a horrible movie. It's really bad. There were people falling asleep in the audience. It was really bad. But just the idea of showing a film that I made to an audience is just like something that I really love. And like I love showing my friends movies that I've seen. I love watching like reaction things on YouTube. I'm a big reaction guy. And so like since then, like I made that feature, and then me and my best friend made a couple short films in between, and then we made another feature film that we premiered at our library where we sold tickets, and like we sold out for the tickets there. And then that also played in the Laughlin Film Festival in 2018. And then we made another feature film that was like a horror film. That one was around like 45, 50 minutes. We played that at a theater that they let us use for free because the Laughlin Film Festival ended up not happening that year. And then that was the year before COVID happened. And then COVID hit, and we just kind of, kept making short films and stuff. And yeah, I don't know, just seeing like the reaction that people had to something that I've made is just like really why I want to do this and continue to do this, just because I love making things that people just relate to or have a shocking moment. Because I remember there would be films that we've made in the past where people would actually genuinely have like a shocked moment, and I'm like, wow, okay, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's just because seeing, how people react to just my stuff and how they enjoy it.
Canyon, I love that, man. Dude, you are a real bona fide filmmaker. For real.
Thanks.
What if I were to tell you that your story is everybody's story? Your story is Steven Spielberg's story, James Cameron's story, Quentin Tarantino's story, Christopher Nolan's story. That's your story, pal. I mean that. That's incredible. Congratulations on being a part of an elite class of person who is produced, written, directed, edited, starred in their own feature film. Mm-hmm. That's not normal, and that should be celebrated. And so congratulations. I'm really proud of you, man.
Thank you.
I want to ask you, talking about Genome, because I didn't know about this before we hopped on this podcast.
Yeah.
So for the listeners, this is news to me. Canyon and I, you're watching us meet right now in real time. So about Genome, the day you wrapped, did you or somebody say that's a wrap? Like, walk me through the feeling of, wow, we finished our first movie, and then I want to contrast that to showing it at a movie theater with patrons there that I don't know if they paid or didn't pay to see it, but either way, they took time out of their day. They got babysitters to go and watch it, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about wrapping, and then talk to me about the XP points that you gained having watched your movie through the eyes of dozens, if not hundreds of people.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because since the film was only with me and my family, it was super easy to just like schedule around and stuff like that. And it took us about a month and a half to film it because I filmed it over winter break, and then my brother was down from college and he had a camera. He had a Nikon D3200. And so that's what we filmed with. And then he ended up having to go back to college before we finished filming. And so I was like, hey, I'll just take the camera. Can I borrow the camera? And, I'll finish filming and stuff like that. So we just kind of finished up here and there. And then the very last shot of the film is actually us going. We went to visit him up at college, and I went to bring him back the camera. And we pulled off on the side of the road to film the last shot. And it wasn't really like a super official, like that's a wrap thing, because it was just kind of like, even to me, it wasn't really something like serious that I was doing. It was just kind of like, hey, I just want to make this movie, and I didn't really understand, like what came with that, or essentially like the steps or the lingo or things like that. Like I just borrowed my cameras and we started filming, and so it was just kind of like a thing where it was like, oh, okay, that's it. We filmed the last shot. I'll just get to editing. And then, I edited it over the course of a couple weeks. And, even editing it, I was like, like this is just to me, it just kind of seemed like a very long video, like a very long narrative, like YouTube video, because that's how me and my best friend were used to making. And, I'd never written anything, we never wrote anything or planned anything out really. And so like, this is the first time it was actually structured and things like that. And, and then I showed it to my family, and like they were like, yeah, that was really good. And then it just kind of like it still never really hit me that it was like an actual movie that I created until like the whole theater thing, and getting to watch people just watch it. And it was unreal, because it kind of just showed me that like you essentially are your worst critic, because over the months leading up to that point, I had just like, I was like, this is terrible. Like, this is really bad. And it was like, my acting's bad, the camera work's bad, it was really, really bad. But I was like, to me, what kept like bringing me back to it was just this feat of, you know, I made a 90-minute long, you know, film. And that's what everyone kept saying too. Like, all my teachers at school, you know, people at the film festival, they were just like, dude, you made like a 90-minute thing. And, you know, there's some people that enjoyed it, and there were some people that, you know, obviously didn't. But it just kind of showed me that, you know, it was my very first one. So it's just like, to me, it could only go up from there. Like, I honestly don't think I could probably make anything worse than that now. And so, like, it could only go up from there. And so getting to have people watch it just kind of really helped me see that, like, you know, it was an actual movie that I actually created, and I went through this process. You know, I wrote it, I filmed it, I edited it, and it was an actual, you know, achievement of making a film, going from, you know, filming it and just kind of being like, oh, this is just like a really long video that we're making.
What was it like showing it in front of people? Like, what was the feedback? What, like, I'm curious about your growth, right? Like your XP points, because I've made a movie that I made just for me, but then I showed it in front of hundreds of people, and I realized, oh shit, it's not my movie, it's their movie. Whatever they think it is what it is. Like, it's all valid and real. And I gained so much XP. Like, I made my first feature. It was sort of essentially like a psychological thriller, but it had brief moments of humor. And when the audience laughed, for example, and the whole theater laughed, I was like, oh my God, I have their full attention right here. Like, I'm crushing. Yeah. I'm crushing right here. It was a good feeling, but there was the laughter in my first picture is few and far in between. So I'm curious about you sitting down with a bunch of people. You're in a safe space. You're there with your family. But what did you walk away with from that?
It was weird because I never really, you know, expected, first of all, the movie to show to anybody. I just was going to release it on YouTube, and that was going to be that. But then, you know, the feedback that I got was there's a moment in the film where when I wrote it and I filmed it, it was supposed to be very emotional. And that was super weird for me because I was like, you know, this is just I don't know if I can convey this emotion to that extent, or, you know, the other actors, you know, my family could convey that emotion. But when I got out of the theater, you know, there wasn't really there was some laughing moments, there was some comedy, and the movie's not really funny. The movie's not supposed to be funny on purpose. Like, there wasn't like a lot of jokes written in, things like that, but there were funny things that happened, and so when people laughed, I was like, okay, I'm glad, you know, they got that gist and it landed and stuff. But the biggest moment of the film was the emotional moment that happens in it, and I didn't really expect anything to happen or anyone to react about it. But when I got out of the film and I was, you know, shaking hands with people and thanking them for coming, there were people coming up to me saying, you know, you got me with that scene. Like, there was somebody that told me that they started crying because it, you know, helped them relate to another part in their life. And I was like, really? I was like, it was so mind-blowing to me that was able to happen. And, you know, there was people, when people were leaving, they really enjoyed it. They said, you know, the fact that I was able to play two very different characters, you know, really, you know, impressed them and things like that. And so I think I just pulled away from, you know, trying, I don't really know how to word this, but like, even though, you know, when I created it and I thought it was really, really bad, I shouldn't have just like shot myself in the foot right away and just kind of wait to expect what people say, because like you said, you know, I was making that movie for me essentially at the beginning of it because I wanted to do it, and I was like, oh, you know, this is bad. And when I show people watch it, it kind of opens my eyes to say there are people out there that just aren't, you know, they're not gonna think that way. If they genuinely like it, then they're gonna genuinely like it. And so every film that I've tried to make up to that point, I've really tried to not really hone in on how I have felt about it after finishing it, and just really got to see what people thought about it at the end of it. And so that really helped me see that, you know, there's a lot more opinion out there than, you know, just yours, and that will really help in trying to whatever further projects that you have.
Yeah. When you first got into filmmaking, it's like you said, the language wasn't really there yet. Maybe you didn't call it filmmaking. Maybe you didn't say action or cut. Maybe you did. You know, I'm hypothesizing here. You started making videos, making content, making film before you were really into movies, is what I thought I heard.
Yeah.
But now you got into movies. You enjoy showing your friends different movies that you've seen. Who were some of your guys and girls? Who are some of your influences the filmmakers or television shows or even YouTubers. I'm curious, like, what makes you tick? What are some of those things that check the boxes for you?
So yeah, I wasn't really, yeah, you're right. I wasn't really a big movie guy. My dad used to do, like, family movie night, and, you know, me being a little, you know, bratty kid, I was like, nah, I don't want to sit here and do this. I don't want to watch these movies. But there were genuinely movies that I really liked, but I just remember...
Name a few from movie night.
Movie night, like, we'd watch Christmas Story every year for Christmas. We watched, there's so many. Like, we'd watch every new movie that came out.
What's, like, a weird one that you're like, I don't know why he showed me this, but I liked it?
God, it's, National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation. Even though, like, watching it, like, when I watched it really young, I hated it. But watching it recently, like, I watched it a couple years ago, I really like it, and I think it's very enjoyable. So I think it's just, like, that growth. But I remember in 2014, it came out on Blu-ray. My dad showed me Interstellar from Christopher Nolan for the very first time, and ever since then, it is my #1 movie of all time.
I love it.
It has never been beaten by anything, and I remember watching that. And that's when I really started, not to take filmmaking seriously, but then that's when I started making all those fake trailers, all those videos. I started, you know, watching more movies, things like that. And, you know, ever since then, like, I've never, like, no movie has ever, there was a movie that came out this year, Everything Everywhere All at Once, that came very, very close to topping it. But that movie, there's just something about that movie, and every single time I watch it, it's just like, I see it, and it's like, that's why, you know, I want to be a filmmaker. It's just that scale and that spectacle and just everything about that film I absolutely love.
Did you like Tenet?
I did. I really did like Tenet. There were some gripes that I had with it, like sound mixing, things like that. It was a little hard to understand dialogue at some points. It wasn't too confusing for me, and it was still, like, I really enjoyed it. I love Christopher Nolan. There's been very few movies of his that I don't like, but I really did like it. I saw it in theaters, and yeah, it was pretty enjoyable to me.
Man, thank you for that. You know, it's funny you mentioned Interstellar, because if I had to make a list of things that I thought that you would really be into, Interstellar would be right at the top of the list. So let's talk about Days Gone By.
Okay.
I want to first let's talk about my impression of the movie, and then we'll get into, like, the making of it, because I have so many questions.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what to expect. You reached out, and you thank goodness, I guess you found my TikTok, and you reached out and you submitted this film to me, and I opened it up on Vimeo, and I request Vimeo links only, just because that really is like this spam eliminator, because people will send me stuff that they shot on their phone. It's a 19-second thing. I'm like, that's not a movie. I'm just being real, right? So I like to kind of eliminate spam, and I know, quote unquote, filmmakers that take themselves seriously are going to use Vimeo. So I open up your picture, and it's 30 minutes. I'm like, what? This is the longest short film anybody's ever sent me. You know, I usually get, like, a long one will be 17, 19 minutes, but 30, I was like, oh my gosh, man, that flew by. That flew by. Yeah. Like, there's a moment where I suspected you were in it, because I didn't do any research on you, and I was like, spoiler alerts, I won't spoil the movie, I won't, but you do appear in it as an actor. Yes. And I had a feeling this might be the director. This might be Canyon. I didn't know if Canyon was a male or a female. Like, I didn't know if this person was in their 40s or if they were in their 20s. Like, I didn't know. That's part of the excitement for me. So I'm watching your movie, and there are scenes. I don't want to spoil it, but they involve. It's pretty meta. It involves a camera or a camcorder in it, right? And I thought of Interstellar. Yes. Am I wrong there?
No, you're not. Absolutely.
So you mentioned your Walking Dead influences. I saw a lot of that in there.
Yes.
And I'm curious if you got to watch the show Station 11.
I didn't, but my best friend, my filmmaking partner, he mentions it quite a bit, and he says that it's pretty good, and I'd probably really enjoy it. I haven't gotten a chance to check it out.
Do you write?
Probably will very soon.
Do you write with your friend?
Yeah, some films that we write together. He's more, I'll let you know right now, I hate writing. Yeah. I absolutely hate it. It's like trying to come up with ideas and, like, sitting down and writing a script is so difficult for me, because my brain, you know, it'll just draw all these scenarios and all these things, and it's basically just extreme writer's block for me all the time. But he's, like, very good at writing. He could sit down and write a script pretty quickly, and so a lot of the films. The second feature we made, he wrote it. The third feature that we made, we kind of collaborated on the writing process and stuff like that. But he'll write a lot of this stuff. But most of the time we'll kind of sit down and kind of come up with ideas together. We direct together a lot of the times on projects like this, but like Days Gone By, that was me directing. Genome, that was me directing. But then like the other 2 features that we made, we kind of co-directed together. So we collaborate on a lot of stuff.
What's their name?
Quincy Barham.
Shout out to Quincy. That's incredible.
Nice.
Yeah, I just want to be able to give Quincy their flowers for sure.
Yeah.
I implore you to watch Station 11 because there's a narrative device that you do in the movie that Station 11 does as well, and it's a very similar genre where it's like this post-apocalyptic setting.
Yeah.
Right. So I think you would really dig it, and it's on HBO Max. So
Sweet.
watch it while before they take it.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Before they take it off.
Yeah.
Your ending upset me. What the heck, man? Is this your sister?
Yes, it is.
She was incredible. She was a fine little actress. My goodness.
Yeah, she would appreciate that.
How did you get these performances?
So Sierra, my sister, she's currently a sophomore in high school, like super into theater, acting, singing, band, like all that. She's very outgoing, and she just like, I'd worked with her on a couple short films before, and she just showed very high interest in acting and, theater and stuff like that. And, I was in some high school productions with her when she was in middle school. They let younger kids join it and stuff like that. And, she was very interested in it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to write a film for her. So essentially starting out writing this film, it started out because the film centers around a brother and a sister in this post-apocalyptic world. And the film kind of, went from, it ended up as a brother and sister, but then it started out as a sister and a sister. And it was gonna be that kind of dynamic, and then it just kind of formulated into brother and sister because I'm a super big fan of the Last of Us video game.
Yeah.
And it like the whole Joel and Ellie dynamic, that's kind of a huge inspiration for that too. And so it just kind of formed into that, and she was super interested in it. I wrote the script. I wrote with her in mind, hoping she would do it. I gave her the script, I showed her, and she loved it, and she was super on board with it. And then the brother, Owen's character is played by Isaiah Lara, my friend from back home. He was actually in a feature with me and Quincy that we did together, where it was in the horror film, and he acted in that, and he was absolutely fantastic in that. That was the first film that we worked with on him, and he was fantastic in it. And so, I was like, you know what, I want to put you in more roles. I want to do more things with you. And so I kind of wrote, that role for him specifically too. I showed it to him, and he was super great. And what I love about working with Isaiah too is he is like, he'll do any stunt. And I know films have stunt crews and stunt coordinators, things like that. Not us. He was like, you know what, I'll do anything you want me to do. There's a deleted scene from the film where he's running down a hill and he just throws himself from the top of the hill down to the bottom. I don't recommend this for anybody, listening. Be very, very careful, and we were. And but he's just great. He's willing to do above and beyond for the role. Same with Sierra. And to be honest with you, I didn't really know what to expect working with the 2 actors going into this, the 2 main actors. I was kind of worried because it was like it was really the first kind of serious thing that I wrote by myself. A dramatic thriller set in this post-apocalyptic world. And it was like, when I was writing this film, I was really trying to like, you know what, I want to write a film. Like, I want to write a movie where people watch it and they're like, dude, that was a movie. And I was super worried. Like, I didn't really know what to expect. But then we filmed the first day, which takes place when they're at the house, when they're talking in the dining room table scene. That was the first day of filming. And it blew me away. I was sitting there, I was filming, I was behind the camera, and they did the scene together, and then, Sierra did some scenes by herself that had no dialogue in it, where she's looking at the photo, or she's sitting, and I was just kind of like, I was like, wow. And at that point, like, I really was, like, I was like, you know what, yes, like, the roles I chose for these people are fantastic.
What were you feeling? What was different there? What was wow for you?
Because I never really seen my sister Sierra act in front of a camera, and to me, theater acting and film acting is very different to me. Theater acting is a lot more exaggerated, it's a lot more pronounced because it's out of theater and everyone has to be able to see it. But to me, film acting is very much more precise. It's a lot more facial emotions, and it's a lot more like body language on screen. And it was just the way she was pulling it off is exactly how I envisioned it to happen. And what's so weird about it is that every film that I've made before Days Gone By, I had this specific vision for it, and not all of them really checked the box. But for Days Gone By, it is almost exactly how I envisioned when writing it. Like, I could close my eyes and imagine a scene of the film or, you know, a shot and or an acting performance, and it is exactly what I wanted. Even for the side characters, even for Christian Berger's character Jack, who shows up in the forest, he played that exactly how I wanted him to. And it was great working with them. It was fantastic.
Did you ever watch? Oh, I forgot the director's name, but it's based off a book by Cormac McCarthy. Did you ever watch The Road?
Yes, that was also a huge inspiration. I watched that film before making Days Gone By, about like a year before making it, and just that dynamic of just the two characters, one younger, one older, is something I was really going for, and I loved that film.
It reminded me of that, like Jack's character specifically too. Reminded me of like, this is dangerous. Just seeing this guy is really dangerous. I don't like this.
Yeah.
Really interesting. Talk to me about the locations. How did you find these locations? Did you have access to them, or did you have to get permission to use these locations? Because that's what made your movie, in my opinion, very cinematic. Was it felt like the locations were characters. It felt lived in. It felt familiar, but also barren at the same time, which it needed to feel. How'd you acquire those?
So in my hometown, so I currently live in like Phoenix, Arizona, like that area, and my hometown is about 4 hours away. And there's a like a park, like a national park, I think, not really a national park, but it's just like a named park. The Wallapies in Arizona. It's closer to like Kingman, Arizona, and around that area. And so we had to drive about maybe like an hour from my hometown to get to that forest area. We
and
went
you had
up for
been
a
there
day.
already.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, I had visited there a ton as a kid, things like that, and then me and Quincy, we location scouted, because he was kind of like my first AD, and we kind of location scouted and stuff like that, and we went there before, and we just kind of planned it out. I called, the park office there and told them what we were going to be doing, told them if I needed to, get any permits or anything like that, and they're like, no, you're absolutely good to go. Just, if any of the park rangers show up, just kind of explain to them what we were doing, because we were working with a prop firearm, so I made sure to keep that, concealed and out of sight as much as possible. But, we didn't really run into problems filming up there. There were some park trail people that were walking past here and there, and we just kind of wait for them. But, and the locations of the film in the forest area are about, like, every scene that you see, they're about, like, a 2-minute walking distance from each, location. So, like, we filmed, like, the tent set up here and, like, walked, like, down here to, like, film the opening of the forest stuff, and then up here for, like, the, when they meet Jack and things like that. And then, the house that we filmed that during the flashback stuff, when they're talking in the dining room table scene and then they decide to leave, that's actually my home, my parents' house. So I just kind of told them, we're going to film here. I kind of planned it out and stuff like that. And then the secondary house is actually Quincy's house. So it was super easy to just use that, his back house and things like that, because his house was pretty big. So yeah, a lot of locations were pretty easy to secure and stuff like that. And so I kind of wrote the film with those locations in mind, just that way I could use my resources and knew, what I had to use. And I wanted to use a forest because also a big inspiration for this short film was the Netflix original show Dark that came out.
Yeah, I see that.
I love that show. Yes, and there's
that was too difficult for me
later,
to follow, man. That was more complicated than Tenet.
I absolutely loved it.
Great.
And
they're coming. The guy's coming out with a new one, I think, a new show.
Yes, I know. I'm very excited. Very
cool.
And so yeah, that forest was a huge inspiration for that, and so I wanted to have that. And it was just about an hour drive, so we just kind of drove up for one day of filming. There was a little hiccup where we were a little late to shooting. Some of the actors showed up pretty. Some of them, showed up a little late, but that's okay. But I had to end up rewriting the end of the film on set.
Wow.
Because we couldn't get it done, and I really I knew some of the actors weren't going to be able to come back the next day.
Did you film
or,
the ending? Was that sequentially? Did you film in order?
No, actually we didn't. So we filmed.
So
the
you
stuff
knew that
where...
was going to be the ending, and you knew, okay, this is what I have to rewrite it. It's going to be like this. Now, when you say the ending, do you mean the final shot or the final sequence?
The final sequence.
Okay.
The final sequence was supposed to be a little bit longer. There was supposed to be some more stuff that happened in it,
okay.
But because we were running out of daylight and stuff, I had to cut it short.
I think that worked in your favor. It really added suspense and mystery, and I must have said "what the fuck" like a few times. You know, when I was watching it, it caught me off guard. So I think that helped it actually.
Sweet, thank you.
No, totally. I did not mean to interrupt your train of thought there, but you rewrote the ending on the fly.
Yeah, and it Yeah, so I had to rewrite it, and then the very last scene of the movie, it was filmed at my own apartment that I got after I moved out of my parents' house, and so we just kind of filmed that real quick, and that was always going to be the ending of the film, was that point, and so the ending sequence is just kind of what I had to rewrite just because we were losing daylight hours, and, at the moment, I was kind of a little upset that I had to, because the scene was supposed to drag out the performance from my sister Sierra a lot more instead of just cutting it short. But then I wrote it. I was like, all right, we just got to, let's just get this done. We'll film it. We'll get it done. And then when I really liked her performance at the very end of the film. And that's kind of like, I was like, okay, it ended up just kind of working out. I'm so sorry. Give me one second. My cat just climbed on my desk.
Oh, we're very cat friendly on this show. It's all good. Cats just know when you're podcasting. That's just how they are.
Yeah. So yeah, I had to rewrite the end of the film, and her performance at the very end was what I wanted to go for originally at the end sequence, but I think it ended up working a lot better. I think it flowed a lot better, and then it also, like you said, it does leave a little bit of the mystery at the end. I don't want to give spoilers, but on the fate of a certain character in the film.
Very upsetting.
And so
very
I
upsetting.
think yeah.
Did you ever watch?
So I think it worked out great.
It did. It made for a very effective movie, and also I think it takes balls to end a movie like that. And I think in a way, once again, no spoilers, but in a way, like you want, especially with the short film versus a feature, you want to leave people wanting more. Not in a I wasn't satisfied or I was underwhelmed. Not in that way. In this genre, there's a bittersweetness that is inevitable, right? So I thought you honored that. The M50, why?
So I don't know. I had gotten a Nikon D3300 for my birthday a couple years prior, and that's what we were using to film a lot of our stuff. But I don't know. I was looking at upgrading. I really wanted a cinema camera, but the price, and I didn't have money saved up and things like that. And I was really looking to upgrade. And my friend Quincy, he was leaving for ASU for film school, and he didn't have a camera of his own. So I sold him my Nikon, and I used that money plus some of mine, to purchase the M50. I just kind of looked at, really nice. I just went on YouTube, nice cinema DSLR.
Did you get a speed booster for that?
I did to use certain lenses, but that whole film was actually shot on just one lens. It was a Sigma
18 to 35
f1. No,
it
was
the 16.
It was 16 millimeter Sigma lens. Yeah, and since the M50 is a crop factor camera, it cropped it out to 22, and so I really liked the way that it looked. I think it looks.
Yeah,
it
looks
I thought
amazing.
It looked fantastic.
There are some shots that are that remind me of the scenes in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows where they're in the forest, where I'm like, ooh, this is just so buttery and beautiful, and it looked incredible. So,
thank you.
Yeah, I was curious about that, and I'm not an elitist when it comes to the cameras that people use. I mean, because if I had to guess, I don't know what I would have said, but very surprised that you used. I think it's like a 1-inch sensor, or very surprised that
it's a 3/4 sensor. I think I don't remember.
Yeah, it's not micro four thirds, but it's smaller than that. But I mean, wow, you really pulled a fantastic image out of it. How many shooting days did it take roughly for you to film this?
It was technically 4, but in total time probably 3. We shot all the 4 sequences in one day. It was a super long day. It was about 8-10 hours for the shoot, and then the stuff in the house was each just a singular day, and then the very last scene was just a separate day. Kind of, we just when my sister was available, we just kind of grabbed her and then we shot the film. But it was over the course of about a month here, spread out here and there, just because everyone had work and school and things like that. But yeah, it was about 4 days in total.
What month did you film this?
We filmed it in October
of last year,
because it's yes, it was very, very hot. Very hot where we live in our hometown. It can get up to 120 degrees, and so I really had to wait for it to cool down. And the wall pies are pretty cool in general, so I wanted to film that stuff around the cooler months. And so we had to just wait for it to get a lot cooler for us to even start filming.
And you filmed in Arizona or Colorado?
Arizona.
I would have never guessed. It looked like the Pacific Northwest. Very, very surprising. Again, this is why I love to talk to filmmakers, man. This is incredible for me. I guess I'm very curious as we're wrapping up here. What do you do for a living?
I am so I've worked in video production like professionally for like the last like 4 or 5 years. But I'm just a video editor at a marketing company. Video editing is just super easy to me. It's just like it's like I know it like the back of my hand. And so
What do you use to edit?
I just figured Premiere Pro.
Okay. How long did it take you to edit Days Gone By?
It was about as soon as we wrapped filming, I got right to work, and I was also editing as we were filming. So like as soon as we get done with the shoot day, I'd just go right in that night and just start editing. It was probably about maybe like a week. I really just sat down and just like edited it out as fast as I possibly could, just because I was super proud of it, and I just really wanted to get it out and show people. And so it's about like a week, but it was like very long days. It was like 8-hour days of just me sitting in my room, just editing the film.
What is your future as a filmmaker? Is that something you want to do, continue doing, or do you want to? Is it a hobby?
No, absolutely. It's something that I really want to like. It's kind of hard, because getting into the industry is very, very difficult, and sometimes it requires a lot of luck, a lot of skill. And it's just, it's very hard. It's very daunting to see everyone that's trying to do it. And so for me and, my friend Quincy, we just kind of like are trying as best as we can to just make as much as we can. And I recently moved to where I'm at fairly, newer to where I'm at now. And so I haven't really had a lot of time to make a lot of stuff. But I just finished another short film about a couple weeks ago. That's about like a 10-minute long film, and he finished another short film I helped him on. So we're trying to make as much stuff as we possibly can. But yeah, this is something I really want to do. Directing is like my number one, passion. I love being behind the camera. I love bringing the vision to life, and directing the whole set and everybody, and being behind the camera, and setting up the shots and everything like that. And so if that's something that I can find myself in as a profession, that would be absolutely satisfying to me. But if not, DP work, film editing, anything really involving film sets, I will be absolutely satisfied with. And I haven't really been on a lot of professional sets. I've been on a couple, but I'm really trying to, get into more, get out to LA, be on some more and stuff like that. The whole choice now is about whether or not living in LA or not is kind of the move, since everybody is going there and it's so expensive, and it's really, it's scary to try and go out there and, try and make it a thing when that's what everybody else is trying to do. So hopefully, we're just trying to make a lot of stuff right now, keep on the grind of, just pumping out as much as we possibly can, getting people to see it, trying to take TikTok seriously, because it's one of probably the fastest growing platforms of all time.
That's right.
And I see the growth in that, and yes, that's where I did find your stuff, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to take a shot at this. But yeah, this is absolutely something that I want to do for the rest of my life.
I'm fucking delighted to hear that. My advice,
Sweet.
Not that you asked for it, in regards to the Los Angeles question.
I'll take it.
My advice is, you're so young, go there and eat shit for as long as you can, until like you have to come back to your hometown and live with mom if you have to, hat in hand, and be like, sorry mom, I didn't make it. Because the people that you will meet, you can't put a price on that. The experience that you will gain, you can't put a price on that. Like, I would say go and fail. And if you don't fail, that's amazing. Yeah. But go and fail. Don't be afraid to fail, because you're so young right now. Who the fuck cares? You can fuck up for the next 5 to 10 years and still wake up young as fuck and still be incredible at your craft. So you might as well go and gain a bunch of contacts and get a bunch of connections and familiarities and just get those reps in. Do it, and don't let anybody stop you. And if you don't, the good news is, we live on a remote virtual society now, where it's okay. It's not the only game in town. Like you said, you can do wonders with the phone in your pocket. So it's totally fine. Yeah. So I think no matter what, with your brain, you're gonna be okay. But if you did decide to go to LA, then you can't fail. Even if you don't achieve your wildest dreams, you can't fail. But go out there and give it a shot. That's the only way to try, man. And, you're so young.
Straight.
You can do you can do your video editing over there. For sure. Yeah. You can do it anywhere. You can go do it. You can go live in the Bahamas and do your video editing. So that's what I suggest. One last question. Oh my gosh. A very strange person is walking to my house. I guess he put a sign up and walked away. Very creepy.
Nice.
Like an old, rugged, like Joel from The Last of Us looking guy. That's not the type of person you want to see walking at your house. I apologize for that.
No.
Here's my last question, and it's not like a crazy, if you could give advice to filmmakers question, because I think you've dropped a lot of gems on this podcast already. If there's any advice that people want to hear, listen to what Canyon has to offer and kind of do what he does, I think that's incredible. But what was the budget for Days Gone By? And what's the most expensive picture you've made?
It was, I don't even know. It was probably just gas and food. And, I mean, if you count the camera, because I don't really count the camera as an expense because I just bought it to have it, Days Gone By was probably maybe $200-300. We had a lot of stuff available. We had a lot of the props. You know, my brother, found the prop gun at, like a Goodwill or something like that. And, he gave it to me as, like, a gift. Hey, use this in one of your films. And so I just had that available. We had a lot of the equipment already, a lot of the lights, the sliders, the tripods we just bought over the years. But anything specifically for the film, like some of the outfits, some of the other props, like the tent and things like that, probably about $200-300. I think the most expensive film we made was probably, I think Quincy said it was about $400-500. It was the second feature that we made. It's called Murder, Locked and Loaded. Super parody, comedic film. Me and him play two buddy cops. And, there was a lot of, prop making for that, a lot of costumes, a lot of, food to buy. It was a very, very big cast of people, huge ensemble. So there's a lot of, things we had to buy for them and things like that. So probably that one.
Man, I cannot wait to see what you do with $10,000. Me
too.
I cannot wait to see what you do with that because, as soon as you popped up on camera and I saw that you were like this 21-year-old, I was like, how the fuck? I've been doing this for 20 years, almost as long as you've been alive. You must have been born in like what, 2003?
2001.
And sorry to drop your age here, but
no, it's okay.
I got into filmmaking in 2004, and I can tell you, kiddo, you're far beyond the skill level that I'm at, and I do this for a living. So all you need is luck, like you said, just a little bit of luck. You got the skill, you got the reps, you got the hunger. Those are the intangibles that people need to make it in this business. You just need an opportunity. You're just one opportunity away from achieving your dreams, man. So super proud of you. Thank you so much for hopping on this podcast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Where can people support you? Where can people watch your movies? Where can people follow you on the internet?
YouTube, just my name, Canyon Damari. Canyon like the Grand Canyon, Damari, Dimare. TikTok haven't really started, but account's the same name. Nothing really on there, but hopefully we start doing stuff. YouTube is pretty much where we post a lot of the stuff. Same with Vimeo, first and last name, just like that. And Instagram, first and last name, simple as that.
People are going to want to watch your movie after this podcast. Where can they find it? How can they support that? Should they? Is it private? Is it unlisted?
No, they can, it's on the YouTube channel. It's available for everybody to watch. It's in 4K, so, YouTube compression won't really be that big of a problem. They could also do Vimeo. Search up the name Vimeo's. It's not private on there. It's available to watch on there if you want the full absolute quality, since Vimeo doesn't do that. But yeah.
Thank you so much, Canyon, for hopping on this.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The reason why this podcast is called Indie Darlings is because I love interviewing people that are on the come up, that are on the rise, that are on their grind right now before they make it. And I know you're going to make it, pal. So keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much. And for everybody watching, please like, comment, subscribe. You can find me at Knives Monroe on all the things, at Indie Darlings on all the things. Love you guys. Keep a force field around your heart, and we'll see you guys on the next podcast.